McLaughlin.
He did win the race, but if our car was 100%, I don't think he would have won.
The final two races of the season, Reggie Ruggerio had to deal with the fact that he no longer could be a contender for the #1 spot. Mike McLaughlin had secured the championship. For Reggie Ruggerio, his strategy had to change. How did you feel going into those two final events?
It was all over at Orange County the week before. We had an accident right at the beginning of the race, ended up losing 20 laps into the race by changing the rack in the car. And that sort of really put the end to our championship charge, I should say. So when we went to Martinsville, we just go make all the money you can, win the race. We led the race with only probably 40 laps to go and had a malfunction in the motor, which caused people to run over the back of me. Michael Stefanik being the first one, then Mike Unisco. And I just didn't end up winning that race. I ended up finishing 9th or 10th. And unfortunately, Mike McLaughlin finished in the back also that race. So if it had came down to the last race, and I had won that race at Martinsville, it would have been a real close championship fight.
Next, we're going to be taking a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be talking more with Reggie Ruggerio. We'll be talking about his family and how important they are to this racing operation. We'll also be taking a look at their plans for the up-and-coming season and their challenge for the title on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour.
Hopefully, we can win the championship, but we'll start off with Smyrna. Hopefully, we're in good shape now. We're 11 days ahead of schedule than we were last year, so I think that's a jump and an advantage right away.
Coming at you, the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. Daytona Speed Weeks 1989 at New Smyrna Speedway, February 9th through 18th. It's 9 exciting nights of competition. The fastest, most exciting half mile in the country, offering several different divisions of competition. The real excitement of the NASCAR Tour Type Modifieds with top-name New England drivers, plus mini modifieds, limited late models, and much, much more. Plus ASA All-Pro drivers, Midwest versus the South. New Smyrna Speedway, February 9th through 18th.
Friars. Lets it fly. Goal! Power play. Andre Hacksaw.
NESN delivers.
Welcome back to Race Week. Reggie, we talked before the commercial break about your family just a bit, and I know they are very important in the efforts of Reggie Ruggerio. Let's talk a little bit about your family, your dad, your wife, and everyone involved that give you that extra support behind the scenes.
Oh, my wife is 100% behind me in racing. She travels to all the races. She's our scorer at all the Modified Tour races, which helps 100% because if you have to depend on someone else to score for you, you don't know if they're going to miss any laps on you and stuff.
I enjoy racing, so it makes it a lot easier than for some people, you know, friends that I have and stuff that have husbands or boyfriends that race. It's, some of them find it very hard, but I find it really easy because I like racing. I love racing.
My children, they go to the races whenever they can, whenever school allows them, where we don't have to take too many days off from school. They go to Florida with us, being that they have a vacation during that time in February. They miss a couple days. They also do very well in school in their grades, and this allows them to go to Florida. Without good grades, our policy is they stay home. And they stayed home last year. John did, and I believe Tony did last year, because not because of their bad grades, but because they couldn't miss the time that we wanted to take them off. So this year, they're both going to go. One's going to go early, one's going to go later. But being they're part of my family, so they're entitled to go wherever I go.
Reggie, what does your family give you for extra advice or that little bit of extra incentive when you go into a race event? What type of things do they tell you?
Oh, my mom and aunt and the rest of the family, not my personally owned family, they sort of all behind me saying, go for it, you know, win the championship, win a lot of races, make a lot of money. They really don't know the hard work it takes to do it. My own personal family, my wife and 2 children, they're involved to the extent where they know I have to work on a race car at night, leave early, go to the racetrack. Sometimes I don't even get to go out for supper with them. I have to be at the racetrack early. And being that they understand this, it makes the job much more easier for myself.
After school, Reggie would stop at the gas station and watch his uncle, and he became very interested, and his uncle taught him all about mechanical work, which he picked up very fast. Then after that, he really got into it. That's what started it.
Did that worry you at all?
It didn't worry me at all until he decided to race, which I was so against it. Finally, my husband convinced me to sign, and then he started to drive.
She was very against having him race, to the point where I used to go every Saturday night and watch the races, and she would sit home all by herself, night after night, week after week, and I finally said to her, you know, you could come to the races, you'll enjoy it. She said, well, you know, I think I'll come this time. Well, when I finally got her to go, I can't stop her from going now.
She was behind me 100% racing all my year through Plainville and right up to date. And her and my mother are like, they don't go anywhere without each other, so they're there rooting all the time.
Reggie, let's talk about your team and the crew itself, some of the individuals and what they basically do in this racing operation.
We have sort of the head crew chief, Mark Lyons. He works full-time on a race car all week long, goes to the races, and on the weekends travels with the truck. He puts a lot of hard work into the race car, being that he's the only guy. Most of the time he's here by himself, except for at night. Mario's here in the afternoon to help him out.
Now, let's be honest. Want the truth now from you. Is Reggie Ruggerio tough to deal with, or is he pretty easy?
He's real tough, but you got to have somebody like that to keep you in line. Otherwise, you have a tendency to get out of hand. It was like when I went to school. If I had an easygoing teacher and you leave a lot of room to fool around, it's no good. If I had a tough teacher, I was a lot better. I had better grades. Same thing here.
Reggie, let's talk a little bit about Mario Fiore. He is magical when it comes to tires, they say. What other extra special things does Mario have for you as a driver?
He has a setup in his race car which is unlike anybody else's. Our cars are an RE-based race car, but Mario changes the chassis around, and he does different little things with weight and lighter component parts and offsetting the rims and everything else, which makes him a little different than everybody else.
Well, it's real good. We've been together probably 10 years, some of the guys even longer, and everybody wants to go to the racetrack and win. That's first and foremost. But even if we don't win, everybody wants to go fast. That's real important. If you come in second and third, but you know your car was fast, it's a big uplift for the whole team, and everybody strives for that.
Goals are always important to a driver. What are Reggie Ruggerio's goals for 1989?
Well, I want to see us win more races than we won this year.
How many's more than this year?
Well, last year, being in 1987, I won 8 races. This year, I believe I won 3. We try to make it 10 and win the championship.
Reggie Ruggerio and Mario Fiore are definitely long overdue for that championship title. And from what we've seen here on this edition of Race Week, it appears that the team is ready and perhaps gearing up for its best season ever. They'll be putting all of their racing efforts to the test on the racing pavement itself. And there's no question about it that the record books show that Reggie Ruggerio and Mario Fiore have all the right ingredients of becoming a true champion. For 1989, their racing efforts will begin when the truck that's located behind me will venture out of the parking lot here in Agawam, Massachusetts, and head down to the sunny south of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, to begin another successful season of competition. Well, that's going to kind of wrap things up for this edition of Race Week. We hope you've enjoyed a look at 44 racing enterprises, and we certainly hope that you'll be tuning in next time as we recap the excitement from the first events of 1988, as we'll be comparing them before we venture into another exciting season of competition beginning in 1989. Well, until then, we say take care, and we'll see you again next time for more of the best in New England motorsports coverage right here with us on Race Week. Bye-bye now.